India's robust startup ecosystem, there are a few startups that have had a splendid, profitable run being bootstrapped. Noise is one such case. Today, we are with the Khatri brothers, who are not only celebrated entrepreneurs but have also contributed immensely to articulating the story of India's dominance in the wearable tech space. Interestingly, Noise has been registering consistent year-on-year growth, and in FY23 it has already crossed 2,000 crore revenue mark. They also claimed headlines last year when they invited their maiden investment from one of the audio industry pioneers, Bose. I am Resham Suhail, joined by my colleague Arjun Yadav. In today's episode of Founders Lounge, we will understand from the founders of Noise, as they celebrate its 10th anniversary this year, what will be the high points and focus areas of their journey ahead. One of the biggest differentiators of your journey has been being bootstrapped. And this conversation is happening after you have brought in Bose as a strategic partner. With this, I want to understand why Bose. And you still stand different from your peers because this investment is coming from a corporate and not from a VC or a PE. Why this move? Why only Bose, not a VC, not a PE? What has been your thinking behind this?
So I'll tell you first, I think before going to Bose, I think what does bootstrapping mean to us? So good part is we were bootstrapped, and it actually helped us to stay very much focused on what we could do. I mean, we had very limited resources in terms of capital and then accordingly people. So we could not focus into multiple categories. For an example, we had to stay true to one or two places and excel there. And honestly speaking, when we are not funded or we are not driven by a bigger reason to give exit to investors or profitability, which means we didn't have to dress up the company for the bigger cause of investors. So at least we could do true which is right for the business, which means getting the fundamentals right, focusing on the unit economies from day one. So Noise was profitable from the day one when we found. Money is important for the business, and but the color of money is important, which means I mean, if you have to move up in the ecosystem, for an example, where we are standing, you can't just win the game with money, capital, just throwing it in marketing. We needed a partner who could help us out to move up. So if you look at Bose, they are pioneers in this space. They are what more than 60 years old now. They have got the largest IP bank for audio as a capability. So this, when it is about to happen, realize that this is something which would enable Indian consumer to experience audio at a better way, and that really pushed us to foray into this.
Important to get who helps you in the business to grow. Right. We know how to make the business profitable. We are running it from 10 years. So we know some sense of what India market is and how to do it. But I think what we needed was the broader exposure and learning of a consumer from a different territories of the world. That comes in with them. So I think that is also a very differentiated piece that has never happened in the country in past. There have been very limited opportunities where a bigger electronic organization or a company from the world has invested into an Indian company. So yeah, that's a big achievement for us.
When we look at the scorecard of your company, the remarkable thing that you have been profitable since inception. But what really happened in last year? Your expenses shot up. Yeah. Drastically. This must be concerning for you, and I am keen to know what really happened there.
As an organization, we have invested very less on R&D and people part from our side, if you look into it. And I mean, as an organization, if you look into it, we incubated a vertical called Noise Labs, which is 2 years back. So which gonna be pivoting the entire R&D, which means whatever newer innovation you would see, we are focusing on that. And initially it takes time to build some stuff which is very differentiated from the market. And I think to stay ahead in the market, in the consumer space where we are, and we need to continuously evolve. So we are investing heavily on R&D part. That is one space. That is why it is, you see that profits going down, but in the coming years you would see that it will also help Noise to premiumize and leverage back the expenses what we have done. And second, till date we've not spent as an organization onto the brands. I mean, our brand spends have stayed close to zero or below 1% of the sales. So from last year onwards, we started investing ourselves onto brand building. So these two are long-term investments, I would say, we have made, and not as an expense.
So somehow can I say that this move was somehow planned and
Yeah,
you are
yeah,
expecting it to change in a very positive
Which is
manner?
that motivation?
Yeah, it takes 2-3 years for some impactful thing to show up. So
Right.
you would see it happening up, but it was a planned move from us.
Also to Amit's point when he mentioned that he is now paying attention to brand building, you also have 3 celebrities as your brand ambassadors. Do you somehow think was this intensive aggressive marketing needed given the growth? How do you think about it? What has been your attention to marketing and advertising?
See, honestly, like Amit said, we have never spent on brand. There was hardly any spend that were going to brands, and because being bootstrapped, you need to be frugal and you need to be always thinking about what is giving you the right ROI. So spends have always been there. Today also the spends have always been there. But I think when brand grows, you need to also grow up with in terms of your branding and marketing. Honestly, like what Amit said, in account books, they looks like an expense, but genuinely these are the investment that you do for the long term.
Perfect.
Today we are talking about, how many brands are there in this business who are doing more than 1,000 crore of revenue, right?
So just to give you some insight, we have more than 20 patents. It is in terms of design for software, those kind of stuff we have. And also we are the one who have the largest app user base in the country. Unlike others, I mean, we don't rely on third-party apps. So our app has got 20 million downloads, 10 million users coming on every month. Actually, its monthly active users are 10 million. So that's what we are trying to work on long-term modes for the business, and that's where the investments are going on. And we are launching our products on our own platform. So which means the kind of watches you see in the market, those are on unified experience, which means they are developed by
Since you mentioned, given the focus on audio with these investor coming in, what are some of the categories where you're seeing strong tailwinds? If you could delve on that, your distribution, the geographical distribution as well, the focus on tier 3 and tier 4 cities as well.
So largely we are a company which is dominated by smartwatches,
Right.
and truly wireless is audio is a smaller segment
Right.
of ours right now. We are like 75-80% is wearables as a space, and hearable is what 20 odd percent. And both markets we feel are under penetrated right now, because looking into the audio penetration over smartphone was 10 to 12%, and these are devices which people keep on changing because of the technological evolution also. But going forward, you would see noise doubling down on audio also.
Right.
So with our investors coming from heavily on the audio side, you would see our focus there. And as a brand, I don't think we're going to be diluting into multiple categories.
Okay.
So hearable and wearable, I think
Will be the mainstay.
we're going to be staying there. There is enough juice in the market there, and
Right.
we feel there is enough market actually which is sitting at the center, which someone has to take it, and we want to really pivot there.
Right, but picking something from that, just yesterday IDC's calendar year 23 report came in. Now, if you look at the overall wearable category, there you have registered flat growth. But in the smartwatch category, till in that category where you were the leaders in the previous year, there has been a sort of slump. How would you read these numbers, both on the overall category when it comes to wearables and a bit of this slump, and how do you plan
so when you look at audio also as a space, so the overall number has marginally increased, but if you look
Right.
into it, people are moving from traditional neck bands to truly wireless devices, which are truly wireless actually, which means higher ASP, better performance.
Right.
And that market has grown by what 40-50 odd percentage from last year actually. So there is a huge, out of what 55 million is just truly wireless. So there is a huge growth happened there. Last technologies are moving out and people are shifting to newer technologies. And when you look at wearables also specifically, when you look at watches, typically as an example, we've registered what 30 million to 55 million users have gone there.
Right.
So which is close to 70% growth. And if you look into it, we have still addressed to the first time users. But in 2024, what we are expecting is that the market has 10 to 12% of penetration over smartphone. And they're gonna be out this year, gonna be having not that 40-50% growth, but it's still going to grow by 15 to 20%. But there are going to be second time users coming in, which means better experience, higher ASP products should start moving up, which is actually which going to be good for the industry.
Right.
The ASP, if not degrow, at least at that level, it should, that segment should start going up.
Adding to this, honestly, the report is not in full details, but if you go into details whenever it is get published, you will see that a lot of the growth that has happened sub 1,000 rupees price point. And I think as a brand, when you are bootstrap profitable, you need to also parallelly look into what is right for your business and what is right for the consumer, where the consumer loyal and whom do you want to cater. And I think we have been very focused in terms of what kind of audience that we want to target and what kind of experience we want to build in. So we never fought in the market of sub 1,000 rupees price, and if in fact you see the market shares from, let's say an example of 2,000 to 5,000 rupees, we hold north of 40% market share there. So I think our focus have been always into an aspirational price point rather than just fighting on the bottom of the pyramid, because that does not lead anywhere for us. With respect to audio, honestly, if you see the data again, and you will see probably we were the fastest growing brand this year. Maybe 100% plus was the growth number that I mentioned.
What is your perspective on the market growth, particularly in this India's consumer wearables? We saw that you also mentioned that we are not expecting a very sharp rise in the growth percentage, but do you somehow feel that it will somehow hit a glass ceiling, and then this will be only a net zero sum game between some of the players jostling up for the same market shares? How do you look at the market growing?
No, so first of all, I feel that, like I said, market went from what, 2.4 to 12, 12 to 30, and 30 to 55.
Yeah.
So this year you don't expect it to be 100, going to 100. So it's gonna be again in ballpark number of 60 to 70 mil. But now what is happening is you will start seeing consolidation happening, because top 3 players have taken the spot of 60% or 70% market share. To that proximity. So consolidation will happen. A lot of unbranded players, small players will start moving out because it won't make sense for economies for them.
Right.
So this is we are seeing, and honestly speaking, the kind of space where we are in, there is such a strong technological innovation is happening. I mean, we introduced a 4G watch actually. I mean, a eSIM watch, 4G watch, which you can standalone device for taking calls, you could do that. So that ecosystem has to come in. People are getting more and more health conscious actually. So health metrics gonna be tracked in a better way. I mean, the accuracy gonna be better. More and more functionality has to come in. So I think, and there is third is the ecosystem play where payments would also be enabled by watches. You could control your home, your cars by our devices. So I think we have enough of headroom for our industry to grow. People will have a reason to upgrade, and what is happening, like all of our age are using our devices, and it is going then to the kids because they have experience they want for their kids. And then now we are seeing, okay, I have my parents who stay in my hometown, how do I monitor them, can you get a device for them? So that's how top and bottom penetration are moving on.
Now you mentioned about technological innovations and advancements in various product line. Now before we delve deeper into what innovations or what plans do you have right now, I want to go back to your story and want to know what really made you start Noise, and why Noise as a name, why only you two brothers, what struck between you, what has been the basic idea before starting Noise. I want to know the whole story.
I think why Noise is, I think we wanted to do something for the consumer. I come from a business where I was into B2B, and inclination towards doing something directly for the consumer and building a brand of ours was always in our mind, in my mind, Gaurav's mind. So when we started, I was like maybe 32, he was 21, 22, 23, whatever. So we keep on discussing can we build something on our own which will last for decades. So that's how consumer interest came in. And then what happened, that Gaurav was fairly young, and then he said I want these kind of accessories, you are traveling, why don't you get it for me? I want a phone cover for my phone, there is nothing available. That was eBay time in India that time. So lot of used stuff was available. And
adding to what Amit is saying, if we go a little more behind the story, I think we both come from a tier 2 city called Bikaner, right? We have been, honestly, to be lack of words if I have to use, I think we were deprived by the right set of experienced product in that city or any smaller town. Irrespective of internet also, I think the kind of products that you get in a tier 2 or accessibility as a user that you have was very limited. And I never saw an Indian brand giving an aspirational product or consumer experience in at least the consumer personal tech. At least हमारे time में personal tech used to be what, Walkman, CD players and all those things. We had all those domestic players who were just trading or selling the product with no experience, nothing that you get. There's no lifestyle feel that we have. And I think that's when we started chatting, because he was into a B2B business. He was serving to Zara, H&M and all those top brands of the world. I came from a background of a commercial pilot where, to be honest, probably it's right to say that I was struggling to find a job because industry was going through a very, very bad phase. Again, a young consumer who was more evolved into era of internet, Orkut, Facebook, Instagram, who understood more what a young consumer thinks and what is that there is not available in the market for a consumer like me. And when we spoke, he was more of a brand guy. He was like, B2B nahi, B2C hona chahiye. I was like, I know what is missing in this country, and a personal lifestyle gadget space is something that has been close to both of us. Technology, we have always been the first one to buy and early adopters to whatever is happening in the world. So I think that was an exciting point for us, and we thought it's the right time. I have ample of time. He has a ample of experience. Why not to give it a try and do things that we feel is not there in this country? And I think it worked well. The biggest thing that worked well was, one, that you yourself was a consumer. We focused on consumer experience and consumer understanding more than any global brand that were there at this point of time in India. And I think, e-commerce was something that was probably anything that I knew. I did not know how to do offline. We never came from a background of that thing. And again, coming from a bootstrap background, you have limited resources, you have limited capital, you have to choose the places where you know what you need to do. So we chose those battles, right? And I think that worked in our favor, and now rest is history.
One big factor that played really well in your journey?
I would add that it has been the, deep focus on consumer. But honestly, if I tell you it has only been one, it's not the right answer. There have been n number of things that we have worked into different area, when it is about team, when it is about product, when it is about R&D, tech, customer experience, developing the new product. Right. Everything has to be set in the right jig, right? It does not work that एक चीज़ अच्छी हो रही है तो सब चीज़ें अच्छी हो जाएंगी. It has to work in parallel. But yeah, I think our obsession towards consumer, I would say, that has been
fair point, and that have kind of helped you reach here. Now, you mentioned about lunar rings coming in, your innovation, your focus on R&D, and also you have been emphasizing on Make in India because the brand in India, right? Tell us more about how focused are you on innovation, how are you focusing on R&D, and how do you look at Make in India 100%?
Like I said, in this space where we are in, we need to constantly innovate if we need to survive. So as an organization, we started Noise Labs as a vertical 2 years back, and that is where we have more than 50 plus R&D team working on it. So we launched our first truly wireless, which is called a lot of gesture recognition, which means by a nod or a gesture you could cancel, take the calls. And this, we just launched Lunar Ring, so this is also developed end-to-end in-house by our teams.
Lovely.
The Make in India initiative way early, I think 15-16 odd months back, and just to tell you, we have our own manufacturing facility based out of Noida, and we have close to 5,000 people directly or indirectly employed there. We produce more than 1 million units.
5,000 you said?
Directly, indirectly we employ that kind of manpower, and we produce close to 1 million unit in our Noida facility, and 95% of noise products are made in India right now. And now we are working on a lot of component localization also, so which would generate more of employment in India.
This comes at a premium price point, and this is something that we are seeing in consumer behavior, not just in wearables, but in the last 1.5 years across categories, be it lifestyle, hospitality, automobile, that shift towards premiumization. How do you strike that balance, and how do you see the mass category right now, which has been the focus till now, and going forward the pivot to premiumization?
The entire focus last year has not been into the e-piece. We are there, we are present, but the focus has been on the medium category or the premium category that you call it. It's very difficult to to cater all three segment of consumers, and you need to choose your battle right. And I think our focus have always been into keeping our brand aspirational, our consumer giving the right experience and giving the right set of product quality. And I think that's how we are keeping our at least focus on putting up on the premiumization and the, like I said, the 40%, north of 40% market share in the segment which has been above the entry level price point. Again, coming up with more technological advanced product. The Pro 5 watch that we have done is the most advanced smartwatch that we have at this point of time. Working on the Luna ring as it, and what he spoke about, the truly wireless also, with a lot of innovations coming from and the partnerships coming from Bragi and the global giants of the technology who created this technology, right? So I think that has been the core focus. Of course, you will have your sales coming from entry because India as a market, you always get maximum sales from the entry price. You can't leave that market empty. But I think where you focus in developing and giving the right consumer experience is what our focus have been. And I think so far we feel that we have done decently well there, and I think our focus will still be there. Whatever market is there at that price point, we need to lead that piece. Whatever happens below is okay.
Very rightly put. My last question to both of you. It's 2024. This year's marks the 10 years of Noise. You had certainly some milestones when you started. How many of those milestones have been achieved in your understanding, where the journey has taken this company so far? And going forward, what would the Noise of 2034 would look like?
I think, Arjun, 2034 as an entrepreneur, yes, I should answer it, but I think it's very far-fetched in the universe where we are in. But I think we are able to see a step at a time or two steps at a time. But me and Gaurav very firmly believe that we should make technology which could make meaningful difference to the life of user. Let's say when we are doing wearables, it is augmenting human capital. We are giving you nudges to stay fit. We are giving you notifications here so that you don't need to take up your phone and look at it every time. We are giving you truly wireless. Truly wireless is first of all making you more productive because you don't need to take your phone like this.
Absolutely.
You can do multiple activities at a time. So, and anything which makes you smarter and more meaningful, this is where we want to be. So I think 2034, if you ask me, maybe in a similar avatar where we become more bigger, broader, and solve bigger human problems and give back to the society instead of just dumping products to the market which we don't want.
Right.
And we both believe that there are hardly, if we want to name any brand which has gone out from India in electronic space, there is nobody there. So is that something we could create to that level? I think that would be the milestone when we both will say, yeah, we have done something now.
I think you should not bound yourself with milestone. If we would have bounded 10 years back, we would have not surely reached there because we had to follow a certain path to reach that milestone. And when you start your journey, you feel that it is just walking straight, but it is not like that. You have to pivot, you have to be agile enough to take some decisions in your life, which when you are bounded with a lot of experience or a specific goal, it does not allow you to pivot or be agile enough. So I think what Amit said, I think it's just good enough to keep your strong focus on next 1 year, 2 years time and keep developing what you can do for the longer term. I think what he said about there has been hardly any brand who have gone global. That will be a great achievement if we are able to do that. And along with that, I think we just want to be the brand which is still connected to the lifestyle of a young consumer, get ourselves evolved with whatever new technologies are coming in.
So there you heard Amit and Gaurav Khatri of Noise on how they plan to step up their game in the true wireless audio space and their thoughts on where the wearables industry in India is headed. For more such content, keep watching and keep following BW TV.